Here I am going to explain the question that explain the significance of non-banking financial companies. The NBFCs are playing a very important role in the country. Their significance can be explained as under a source of help to different sectors, and the NBFCs provide all round help to the different sectors of the economy. They enable the household sector to put its surplus funds into profitable uses. They also provided consumer credit loans and mortgage loans, etc. Thus, they promote savings and investment habit among the members of the society. They help the business sector by providing loans mortgaged for their projects and by purchasing bonds and shares, etc. In this way, these facilitate investment in plant, equipment, etc. By purchasing their bonds and securities, they lend a helping hand to the government at various levels. Benefits to the economy: these intermediaries can be of immense help to the central bank, Reserve Bank of India, in the execution of its credit and monetary policies, and thus in promoting economic growth. They create large financial assets and liabilities. They provide the economy with money supply. In this way, they smoothen the working of financial markets and help the growth of the economy. Since the financial markets provide directions to the economy, the monetary and credit policies of the central bank are implemented in such a way that the functioning of the financial markets is not disturbed. Since the NBFCs are an important link between the ultimate lenders and the ultimate borrowers, they discourage hoarding, mobilize savings, and channelize them into investment and thus promote economic growth. Benefits to individual savers and investors: by bringing together the ultimate lenders and ultimate borrowers, they discourage hoarding of cash by the people. They compete among themselves, which results in the lowering of interest rates. Since these intermediaries invest their savings into primary securities, the prices of securities go up and the rates of interest fall. Low rates of interest benefit both the savers and the investors. The real cost of lending to borrowers are reduced, which in turn reduce the costs and prices of goods and services. The savers benefit because they provide greater safety to their funds and other facilities and services, and thus increase real return and income from their savings. Since these intermediaries take the risk on themselves, they reduce the risk of the lenders and borrowers. It is thus clear that by providing liquidity and safety to financial assets and helping the transfer of the funds from ultimate lenders to ultimate borrowers and channelizing them into productive channels, the NBFCs promote capital formation and economic growth. In the context of Indian economy, there is much need for bringing improvement in their functioning. Keeping in view of the economic conditions of the country, the RBI should have to take drastic measures to keep them within the limits. Their working have to be properly regulated and controlled, and a guideline have to be shown from their future growth. Reserve Bank of India and NBFCs. In India, NBFCs have been in existence for a long time. They were initially registered under the Indian Companies Act. The RBI had no control over them. They were playing an important role in the field of financial intermediation. The Nasiman Committee had recommended their integration with the mainstream of financial system. For formulating a program of reform of these institutions or companies, the RBI set up a working group under the chairmanship of Dr. A.C. Shah in May 1992, on which recommendations the Reserve Bank invited a scheme of registration of such institutions or companies on 12th April 1993. According to this scheme, all those companies which have a net own fund of rupees 50 lakh and above are required to register with the Reserve Bank of India. In June 1994, the Reserve Bank of India issued prudential norms with regards to income recognition, accounting standards, assets classification, provisioning for bad and doubtful debts, capital adequacy, and concentration of credit or investments, etc. They were required to achieve a minimum capital adequacy ratio of 8% by 31st March 1996 and also to get themselves rated by any one of the credit rating agencies at least once a year. The RBI required that companies having a net own fund of rupees 2 crore and above should get their first rating done by 31st March 1995, and those below rupees 2 crore should get their first rating done by 31st March 1996. According to the Reserve Bank's directive, they were required to achieve a minimum prescribed rating. The objective of credit rating is that depositors and creditors get complete information about these companies so that their interests are protected. Liberalization measures 1996. The RBI announced certain liberalization measures for the institutions or companies on 24th July 1996 with a view to encourage those of the companies which are operating on sound business principles. By an ordinance dated January 9, 1997, the RBI has been given greater authority to control and regulate the operations of these companies. Now, the conditions under which these companies can operate are as follows. Unincorporated companies have been banned from accepting deposits. If they hold any deposits on that date, they will be returned to the depositors within a period of 2 years or immediately when the deposit is payable, within whichever is earlier. These companies are required to obtain a certificate of registration from the Reserve Bank, which implies compulsory licensing. They should have a net own fund of rupees 50 lakh or such amount not in exceeding rupees 200 lakh. A company fulfilling the above conditions may carry on its business for a period of 3 years from 10 January 1977 for such period as the Reserve Bank may, after recording the reasons in writing for so doing, extend subject to the condition that such company will inform the RBI within 3 months of fulfilling in the net own fund requirement. Such company will be allowed to carry on business for a period not exceeding 6 years in the aggregate. Every company has to create a reserve fund and transfers to it not less than 20% of its net profits every year before declaring any dividend. If any company fails to repay any deposit or part thereof and in accordance with the terms and conditions of such deposit, the company law board can order the company to make repayment of such deposit within a specified time. In case of default, the Reserve Bank can impose fine on the defaulting companies. If any company is unable to clear the debts or has earned disqualification to carry on business, the Reserve Bank can file an application for its liquidation under the Companies Act 1956. At present, there are more than 40,000 finance companies in the organized and unorganized sectors. Of these, 12,968 were registered with the Reserve Bank of India at the end June 2007.